The Splinterlands blockchain-based game recently announced two proposals that have players absolutely buzzing. The first is the ability to burn DEC or DEC battery to purchase land starter packs that will allow players to get a jump start on extracting resources from the land economy that is supposed to be released later this year. The second is the proposal to give 500,000 Chaos Legion starter packs to NFTY Arcade to create starter decks that will allow new players an easy way to try out the game with a hope of onboarding new players. We're talking all about both proposals in today's video. Hey everyone, and welcome back. This is the Part-Time Economist, and in today's video, we're just kind of kicking back, relaxing, and talking about two Splinterlands proposals that I think are pretty interesting. Obviously, this video is not financial advice. You shouldn't make any investing decisions based on what we talk about here today, and if you could like the video, comment, or subscribe, it would totally help me out. So, with that being said, let's talk about these two new proposals from Splinterlands. Now, when I say proposals, that's not entirely accurate. The land starter pack is a proposal. The proposal to give the 500,000 chaos packs to NFTY Arcade isn't really a proposal that we as players get to vote on. It's more a proposal in the sense that the Splinterlands team is thinking about it. But we don't really have a lot of say in that one, but I'm still going to cover it because I do think it's a good point of discussion and there's a lot of good arguments on both sides. So let's start off with the land starter packs. If you remember, a couple weeks ago, the team released a proposal that would essentially give players the ability to burn dark energy crystals to get a potion that might enhance the rarity of their land, right? And obviously, the idea there was you pay some money, you get a more rare land plot, and then because of that, you make more money in the long run. However, the community turned that one down, and instead a new proposal has been released with this idea of starter packs. So with the starter packs, the way it works is when you go to surveil your land, right? So we're not talking right now, this isn't like a pre-release. When you actually go to surveil your land to get your land deeds, when that becomes available, it looks to me like you will have an option kind of at the time you're doing that to get one of three separate options. You can get the building in a box starter pack, the time crystal tokens starter pack, or the double production rate of any building for 30 days starter pack, which is called the unstable totem. So let's go through each of these and try to determine which might be the most advantageous. So with the building in a box starter pack, what it allows you to do is when land goes live, you will need certain resources, wood, timber, stone, different things to construct your buildings. Now, these buildings on your land increase the productivity of your land, but here's the catch. When the economy first starts, again, we're talking later in this year, we're talking projecting out into the future, so this isn't by any stretch something that is currently live. You're going off a future projection here. When this goes live, the idea is that there's not going to be a lot of resources available. There's not going to be these things that you need to construct your buildings. So what the building in a box starter pack does is it allows you to begin construction on this building without having to have any of the resources, which, as you could imagine, could be pretty powerful. Everyone else is waiting for wood and stone to be produced very slowly because there's no buildings, right? You are already constructing your building, so you have a jump start there on getting to a more productive land plot. Proposal 2 is the time crystal tokens. Now, essentially what this does, you still need all of the different resources to build your building, but the time that it takes to construct that building is going to be shortened, right? So let's suppose it normally takes a week. You have these time crystals. You can shorten that period down. The idea here is that you pay for these time crystals, you construct your building quicker so you can make more money quicker. There is a discount on these time crystals if you purchase them as part of the, starter pack versus just purchasing them normally. So the last one is the unstable totem, which basically for the first 30 days, once production goes live, you produce double, right? So double production rate for 30 days. Now, which of these is more advantageous? The simple answer is we don't really know, because each of them has its own advantages, right? If everyone starts creating these resources, right, and the price of resources is extremely, extremely high, as most things are when a new proposal goes live, any new time, right? Any DeFi protocol, any new crypto token, right? Whenever it first starts off, the APY on that is insanely high. So being able to get a building, right, that's going to increase your production without having to pay for all of those things, not only could save you money on purchasing these resources when the price is the highest, but also make your land more productive quicker, right? So if you had the ability to produce 10,000 units of stone the first day that this was live versus the 1,000th day that this was live, they're probably going to be more valuable at the beginning because there's simply not as much supply, right? Again, that goes for basically every DeFi protocol, every crypto. When things first come out, there's not a lot of it. The APY is much higher. So this, you don't have to buy the expensive stuff, and you can produce more of the stuff while it's still expensive to sell before the price starts going down. The time crystal tokens, there's a little bit of a trade-off there, right? You still have to go and buy all of these resources, but you can compress the timeline to your building being available, right? And again, this is where we simply don't know what's going to be most advantageous, right? If a normal building construction takes, let's say, a month, and my time crystals can compose it to 2 or 3 days, then maybe that's the better option. If it normally only takes a day or two, then maybe I'm better off just going with the building in a box starter pack, right? And not having to pay those high resource costs. Again, with the unstable totem, we simply don't know. Is doubling my production rate for 30 days going to be better than having that building right away? Is it going to be better than compressing that timeline? Again, each of these has the potential to be advantageous in its own unique way, but with things how they are right now, we simply don't know which is going to be the best bet. Now, one thing that I will say about all of these proposals is look what you're doing. You are paying an investment of the dark energy crystal now, right? Well, whenever it goes live, whenever you have the ability to purchase for higher yield, right? That is something we see over and over and over with Splinterlands, basically with every blockchain-based game, right? The more you pay into it, you get the higher rewards. Now, remember, if you come along 6-7 months down the road and you try and buy in, things have kind of normalized by that point. So what I have personally found, and again, this is not financial advice, the earlier you get in on something, generally, the better it is. So what they're trying to say is, hey, you're giving us this vote of confidence. We're going to give you these perks and hopefully it pays off, right? Again, make your own decisions. I'm not trying to give you direction anyway, but that's just generally what I see. Now, let's move on to talking about these 500,000 chaos packs that are going to NFTY Arcade. I want to start off with the logic and the idea behind it. The idea is that we want new players to come into the game, right? We want to onboard people so that, number one, we have a more vibrant community, but number two, so they buy assets, so they invest in the game, and then the existing players, right, their asset values go up, or they can rent their cards out for more. So the idea is to get new players into the game, which currently is problematic because let's look at all the barriers to entry. Number one, you have to pay your $10 for the Summoner Spellbook, right? Then, even if you pay that, starter cards don't count towards your rewards, right? So, okay, you can play the game, but you can't actually earn anything. And then you don't have legendary cards. You don't have these cards that can really help you out. Your earnings are going to be quite low. So the idea with these starter decks is, hey, you're a new player. Let's give you a full power, let's say a bronze or a silver level deck, so that you can play the game. You can experience what the game would be like if you had made a significant investment, right? You don't have to make the investment, but you can see, hey, this is how the game mechanics work. This is about how much I'm earning. Do I think this is worth it or not, right? And then the idea is, after players try this, they say, you know what? My starter deck time period is up. I'm going to go ahead and invest in the game. I have more knowledge of what I'm getting into. That's the proposal. However, let me give you the other side of this. Essentially, what we're doing is we are discounting existing players. There are many, many existing players that have been playing for a long time that don't have a bronze or a silver level deck, right? That's fully leveled up for that appropriate level. There are a lot of existing players that came in when $10 was all you needed, and then they took away starter cards, they took away all these things. So you're really giving new players a much better offer than you've given to existing players, right? And again, I understand at some point we have to move forward, but it's just something to think about. On top of that, if we're looking at the way this is set up, a new player coming in, they're not going to have to rent cards now, right? So that, again, hurts existing players. There might be a player that's played for a year. Some new player comes in with a completely free deck that they've paid nothing for and gets more rewards than them. Let's also think about it on the flip side. What if all these players do come in and they're like, hey, I have this silver level, or let's even go with a bronze level max deck, and they're playing the game and they're like, I'm earning the equivalent of like 7 cents a day, right? And this is with a deck that would have cost me 50, 60, 70 bucks, whatever. They might have originally thought, hey, I'll just buy the spell book, I'll go ahead and get into it, I'll go buy some cards. But after trying it out, they might be like, hey, I'm earning like 1/10 or 100th of minimum wage playing this game, right? And maybe it's not worth it. So it might actually have a opposite effect than what the team's wanting, right? If I do this trial offer and I figure out that it's not really that lucrative, I might just completely pass on the game altogether, as opposed to kind of being forced to make that initial investment into the game. I do want to briefly talk about asset prices, because I've heard some people, Infidel1258, love the channel, but I heard him specifically talking about how getting these Chaos Legion packs out of here would be beneficial to those of us that do have Chaos Legion packs. The idea is that we're going to open them up so there's less unopened supply, therefore the unopened supply becomes more scarce. In principle, I do agree with that. Having 1,000 unopened packs is obviously going to be more scarce than having 10,000 unopened packs, right? However, when we open those packs, you've got to remember, if we're giving out these starter decks, then there's less reason for people to purchase packs. They don't need their own cards, right? So again, with both of these proposals, I see good and bad things. Specifically with the land starter packs, I see this as kind of a classic blockchain-based gaming, play-to-earn gaming strategy, right? The idea is that, hey, if you trust in us, if you put up some money now, we're going to give you this little bonus period where you can maximize your rewards, right? Again, not telling you what to do, but that's kind of how I view that. As far as which of those specifically is going to be the most beneficial, we simply don't have enough information at this point, in my opinion, to be able to say which one you should or shouldn't do. The idea is that not only do you get that benefit, you burn DEC, so I don't know. I've not decided how I would vote on that proposal. The nifty 500,000 chaos packs, if this was a proposal, I honestly would probably be voting against it, simply out of respect for the existing players, right? Simply out of respect for what they've invested into the game, kind of the trials, the sacrifices that they had to go through to get set up to protect their investments too, right? When these Chaos Legion packs were sold, the idea was, hey, you want to play the game, you've got to buy these packs. And now it's like, well, you don't really need to buy them. We'll give you this trial run. So that being said, I'm not completely against it. I do legitimately see where the team is coming from, thinking that they'll get more players into the game and that everyone will win. So I don't think either of these are, I mean, we've seen some proposals that the community was just, this is garbage, get rid of it. I don't think either of those are what we're seeing here. I think there's good arguments on both sides, and I'd encourage you to look at the proposals and determine how you want to vote. As always, though, this video is not financial advice. I do appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.